Hey gang, what's going on? It's your guy coming to you live from the Zagnif Mobile on the evening commute. Do not worry, this is a hands-free. It's on a mount. Where the wind comes whipping down the plain. We got the big game tomorrow. And when I say big game, it's not... Well, it is. I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to say here. It's a big game in that this is a all or nothing game pretty much for both teams. Tennessee would have 3 losses if Georgia were to win. Georgia would have 3 losses and 3 SEC losses at that if Tennessee were to win, and subsequently would basically eliminate either team from either contention in the SEC championship or the CFP. Although at this point, with a bunch of tiebreakers right now, if Georgia were to win out, there is a possibility. Even if Georgia would have went out, and Texas A&M would rise up, and I threw the Falcons reference in there. You like that? Texas A&M would rise up and knock off Texas. There would still be a tiebreaker in there in which Georgia would not make the conference championship. So let's just take that one off the table. This would just mean that either team would be eliminated from 12-team playoff contention. Looking at the injury reports, it's looking like we are going to be without ATN. We are already without Robinson. Frazier is questionable. And that leaves us down to Cash Jones. And you see what our offensive line looked like last weekend. Did not look good. Ernest Green couldn't block. Ernest Green couldn't block a building block. Seriously. Sorry, that's the cheesiest, best analogy I could come up with. It was definitely just a wide open swing. It's like one of those swinging doors you see in a kitchen in a restaurant. The one that just swings and flaps back and forth. That's basically what our offensive line was like. Tate Ratledge was not at 100%. I'm guessing he's still not 100, maybe better this week than last, but probably still not 100%. So the offensive line is going to be a big question. And then, of course, the ultimate question, Carson Beck. Carson Beck with 12 interceptions now through 6 games. And, 12 interceptions through 6 games. And Tennessee is one of the better defenses in the SEC. So there's a big challenge there. And even when he is on point, we've got the most drops by wide receivers in FBS. So it is going to definitely be an uphill battle. Now, some encouraging news, if there is any, is my understanding from some reports that I've read, different stories, that the question was raised, where are our team leaders? We didn't have, when we had a championship run, we had team leaders on offense and team leaders on defense. Stetson Bennett was a great motivator. And then you had Brock Bowers, and Ladd McConkey, who were experienced players. And then on the defense, you had guys like Nakobe Dean and Jalen Carter, and those guys were defensive leaders. And Nakobe was the general, quick to set somebody straight if they were out of line. And the question was raised that Georgia was lacking those. So some guys have really started stepping up in practice and meetings. So we'll see how that comes about. I do think it is still entirely possible for Georgia to win this game. It is a home game. The crowd's going to be as loud and as raucous as it possibly can be. And Tennessee has not done well on the road. Now, of course, we also said the same thing last week with Ole Miss not playing well against teams of quality in the SEC this season, even though they did continue to win. But they did handle Georgia. They put Georgia away pretty handily. So, you guys tell me, what do you think? I mean, it's do or die for Georgia at this point, at least as far as the playoff is concerned. Now, realistically speaking, I do think that should Georgia fall to Tennessee, it'd still get a bowl bid. But of course, in the eyes of the eyes of all the analysts, the fanalists, and the just plain fans, this would definitely be a failure of a season for Georgia. We did see something else as far as Carson Beck is concerned. Got rolling back to Carson Beck. What if it was a fan theory? And I'll go back and find it and try and give them credit in the description of this video. What if Carson Beck was never really any good, and it was just that he had two of the most sure-handed receivers in college football in Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers that made him look good, and then once they were gone, he was exposed? If you couple that with discussions we've had on our show, and I mean even up to network analysis by the network analysts and fans with podcasts alike, realistically speaking, Kirby Smart's job and the coaching staff's job is to look at what they have in as a team, as a whole, and put the absolute best product they have on the field, hands down. I made that argument myself a couple of years ago when we were playing pretty shoddy, and it looked like, the perfect season was in jeopardy. The SEC championship was in jeopardy. People were like, you need to get rid of Stetson. You need to fire Kirby. Some people did actually say that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, trust the process. I'm still sticking with that. But what that says is that, and we all know the level of talent has decreased in the wake of, you got to admit, those are two of the most phenomenal championship teams that you have seen in recent history. And, of course, probably the most dominant Georgia team since the Vince Dooley era with the 1980 championship team, who also almost ran it back in 1981. So Kirby and company have looked and said, this is our best quarterback, these are our best wide receivers, these are our best running backs. That might pretty much be it. And they've been able to pull off some amazing things this season. They've got two incredible wins over Clemson, and the Texas game was a fine how do you do. Even the comeback in the Alabama game was incredible. We still lost that game, but God, if we could have pulled that off, then maybe we wouldn't be having the same discussion. But still, reality is reality. The Dawgs now have two conference losses, and they need to win this game to stay alive. Do I think it is entirely possible? Yes, but it is going to take a concentrated, all-together now push effort on the parts of the offense, the defense, and the special teams, and let's not leave out the coaching staff. So, I think the Dawgs can do it. Will they? Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow under the lights at Sanford Stadium. And I still intend to be right there watching and yelling, go Dawgs, sick 'em, woo, woo, woo. I'm at a traffic light right now. That's why I can look at the camera. Ha, ha, ha. In the meantime, I'm going to go home, probably order a pizza, and sit down and see if 58-year-old Mike Tyson still has the stuff it takes to take on a boxer pretty much half his age. But he does look good. Tyson looked good. Now granted, you only see little clips. You don't see the whole training sequence. But what they allowed us to see, he looked very good. And I do know that if Tyson gets him with that two-punch ribs jaw combo, Mr. Paul might meet Mr. Canvas. At any rate, it proves to be quite the spectacle. I plan to be watching that this evening. And then tomorrow, I'll be cheering on Go Dawgs and watching football all over, as this weekend definitely will wind up either cementing the postseason fate of some teams, and crumbling the foundation of any postseason hopes for others. So, and then of course, Colin and I are going to talk about it on Monday. And oh, by the way, Rev says he'll be back on Sunday, so don't worry. I know that's your favorite segment. So Rev will be back. I will see you guys again soon. I'll probably have some stuff to say tomorrow. Y'all be good. Go Dawgs.